Live. All right, we're live. Cool. Hey guys, my name's Luke. Welcome back. Welcome to those of you who are watching later and those of you who are here right now. So this is a live English lesson for those of you who are not English learners. What are you doing here? Get out of here. We're going to be today learning some interesting things in addition to talking about some of your questions. If you have questions as you're learning English, as you come across difficulties, let me know what they are in the comments of my videos. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get the videos and then leave comments under them, and I usually check those out and often include them in these live streams. Now, I do have some other things prepared to talk about as well. We're going to talk about the origins of the days of the week. We're going to talk about syllables and why they're so important to learn and how we can learn them. And then we're going to talk about a very, very, very interesting memory technique. It's a fascinating technique for remembering things, which I think should be useful to you. I use it all the time. And we'll just wait for a few more people to come into the class, and then we'll get started. Guys, I would really appreciate it if right at the start you can hit the like button. That's very important. It just lets YouTube know, hey, live class, it's happening. Come on, join, ask your questions. That's basically the function of it. So we'll get started in just a second. I see Lolly Lolly's here. That's good news. Israel is here. That's good news. Israel says, what's up? How should I answer that? Should I say, what's up, and then say, good, I'm fine? No. I should say, not much, nothing, just doing a live class. So you'll either say what you're doing, or you'll say nothing or not much. It's one of those quick interactions that we have in English. One of the most common mistakes is when people say, hey, what's up? The other person says, I'm fine. Which is wrong. It's wrong. Yes, memory techniques. Lolly Lolly, do you want to start with the memory techniques? I can do that if you like. I mean, I can kind of go in any order, I suppose. That's no problem. That's no big deal. Hey, so anyway, let's roll the intro, and then we'll get started with this. Get your questions ready, and so I'm going to hit the intro, and then we'll begin, and maybe we'll start with the memory technique. I don't really care what order we go in, but I'll be answering your questions sort of in between each of the topics that I have planned. All right. Okay. Fine. Good. Great. Wonderful. Intro. All right. So, I think we can start with our memory topic. Okay, let's start with our memory topic. This one I think should be very interesting because it's very powerful. And if you really know how to do it, if you really understand it, you can use it for more than just learning words. But we're going to talk about it in terms of learning vocabulary because this is an English class, right? A live English class. So we'll talk about it in terms of vocabulary. All right. So let's do it. There is an amazing technique for remembering many different things. You can remember phrases, words, people's names, numbers, and I use it for all of these things. Now, you'll see it mentioned in a few places. One of the most famous places that you'll see it mentioned is in the BBC show Sherlock. Sherlock has this memory palace. I can't remember if he calls it a memory palace or a mind palace. What a lot of people don't realize is that that's a real thing. That's not just some crazy thing that was invented for that TV show. The mind palace or the memory palace is a technique of memorization, and it's extremely powerful. And we're going to talk about how it's used. Let me give you the basic idea. Let me give you just a simple sort of overview of the concept, and then we'll actually do an example. I will show you an example, and then you can start to play with this on your own. This is something that was invented a long time ago. In ancient Greece, I believe, they invented this very old method. Well, they didn't invent it when it was old. Now it's old. When they invented it, it wasn't old. I believe it started in ancient Greece to memorize long speeches. Might have been a little later, but I think it was ancient Greece. Okay, so the basic idea is you're combining memorable images, things that are strange or unusual, to things that you're very, very familiar with, things that you know well. Then you're combining the thing you know well with that strange thing. You're connecting them together. It becomes, that new thing that you're trying to learn becomes very sticky. It is bound to the very memorable thing. Now, it's very important that the thing you're trying to learn is a little bit unusual. It can't be forgettable. It's got to be pretty strange. Now, people do this in different ways. Some people will use rooms. Personally, I don't think rooms are that good. It has to be a place that you know very well, a place that you can revisit in your head. That means if you're laying in bed, you close your eyes, you can see every detail of it. So if you want to use a room in your house, that's fine. If you want to use a place where you often go, like your workplace, or the path toward your workplace if you walk to work, that's fine too. Personally, I walk a lot. I go for a walk every single day. And so I know all of the streets near my house. And I go on these different routes. Today I'm going on this route. Tomorrow I'm going on that route. I use each route for a certain kind of thing. So let's say, for example, route number 1, pathway number 1, toward the Starbucks over there to get a cup of coffee, that is my phrases route. And pathway number 2, or route number 2, is my let's say, vocabulary noun route. I'm going to use that for nouns. Okay, and I'm able to close my eyes and walk each of these routes completely because I've done it so many times. It has to be very memorable. That's extremely important. If it's not totally clear in your mind, it doesn't work, okay? So it's extremely important. So you choose the place. Now, the idea here is then you're going to walk along this path in your mind. If it's in a category, for example, noun, the noun route, you're going to bind weird things connected to the meaning along the path, okay? You have to place it there deliberately, on purpose. You have to make an effort to create something that connects this thing you're trying to learn to this place that you travel along in your mind. And it has to pop out. It's got to be very memorable. Now, there's another video that I did about this to learn numbers, so you can check that out to learn numbers as well. Some people learn whole languages this way, where they'll have a whole city in their mind, and this district in the city is vocabulary, and that district of the city is phrases, and that district of the city is adjectives, and so on. And that can work. That can work. It's more difficult. I'm just recommending use either a room you know well or a path that you often walk or you often bicycle or something like that. Okay. Now, there are a series of steps we can go through. So let's talk about the steps. Let's go through the steps that we need to do this. We want to create a mental space, and we're able to visit that. Then we need to have a path through that space. So we imagine ourselves not walking in any direction. We have a certain direction. And often this is very effective for speeches. If you want to remember what you should talk about next, you walk down the path, and that each time you get to a new point, you remember the next thing you're talking about. Then you choose the thing along the path, and you bind the thing you want to learn or remember with that thing. Maybe it's a park bench. Maybe it's a tree. Maybe it's a sign, a road sign. Whatever it is, you can bind it to the path. And then you move back through the path and recall each thing. Still, this might sound a little weird. All right, so I think in order to really get it, in order to really sort of grasp the idea, we need to do an example, okay? So I want you to just imagine that you don't know the word grenade, okay? Now, I think you probably do know the word grenade. Right? The word grenade, something that in wartime people hold in their hands, you pull out the pin, you throw it, and it blows up, right? Let's just take this as a very simple example. Okay. Now, here's the tough part. The tough part is the creative act, making the memorable thing. But once you place it, it's very hard to forget. So when you do memorization by repetition, the hard work is again and again and again and again, and flashcards and flashcards and flashcards, right? With this one, the difficulty is creation, making it. But once it's done, you will not forget it. All right, so we know what a grenade is. We know a grenade is a thing that explodes, but we're worried that we're going to forget the word grenade. So here we are on our noun path, and I'm going to use, there's a park that I often walk to. It's called Casena Park. And on the park, or rather in the park, there is a bench. Now, beside the bench, I have seen a little stand. And there's a little stand there where people sometimes sell things. One time, I saw people selling drinks. So I'm going to imagine that I'm walking along around this small lake. Well, it's sort of a pond, it's a small lake, a big pond. Let's say that. All right, I'm visualizing this. You don't know it, I know it. Now, that's very important. It can't be my special place for you. It has to be your own thing. It has to be something you know very well. All right. Now, the word grenade, if I just repeat it, grenade, 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 it sounds like something. There are pieces of that sound like things that also I know, right? So grin kind of sounds like green, right? And nade. So what ends in nade? Well, lemonade ends in nade, right? So it kind of sounds like green. I can imagine green lemonade. So I'm walking along, and here's this little table, and these two kids are sitting at the table selling lemonade, except the lemonade is green. Now, that's very important because you usually don't see green lemonade. So that tells me that something weird is here. Why would I create this green lemonade? Usually lemonade is pink or yellow. Why is it green? That must be a hint to remember that I'm trying to remember something, right? I'm trying to remember something. So I say, yes, the fact that it's green. Oh, right. It's green because it sounds like grenade. So it reminds me of the sound, but that's still not far enough. Okay, so what does that have to do with the thing, the grenade? So first, I see the kids selling green lemonade. And I'm walking along and I think, oh, that's weird. And I think to myself, I'll buy one. I've been walking for a while. Right? I want a refreshment. It's green, so what? But there's someone in front of me. I'm waiting in line for the lemonade. There's one person in front of me. It's another guy. He pays $2 and takes one of the green lemonades and walks away. Okay. Now, I look at one of the kids, and the kid is smiling, an evil smile. You can imagine the most evil smile, and his lips curl back, and it's very disturbing. Why is this kid smiling in such an evil way? Very strange. And I see in his hand he's holding a pin. Okay? And I look over to the right, and the person who just bought the lemonade is about to take a sip, and then suddenly there's a huge explosion. That person explodes into a cloud of pink dust. Now, I know that's disturbing, right? That's disgusting. But the disturbing part of it, the disgusting thing, is what makes it stick in your mind. So I have this thing where this guy in front of me bought green lemonade. It's green because I want to remember the sound, grenade, right? And then it explodes to remind me what the meaning of the thing is. The kid with the pin with this evil grin on his face. And then I look over, and this person just explodes. And then I decide, okay, I'm not going to buy one of these because it's dangerous lemonade. Now, you might be thinking, oh, geez, that's really complicated. And you're right. But if you practice it, it gets easier, right? I just came up with that one pretty quickly. It didn't take much work. And there's always a way to find something else in your brain to connect it, to create a weird image. Disgusting slugs and people who have weird faces, and anything that can make it memorable, that can make you remember, one, the sound, grenade, green lemonade, grenade, green lemonade, and two, the meaning, the explosion, and the kid's evil smile. These things make it very sticky. So do you think I will ever, if I'm just learning the word grenade, do you think I will ever forget the word grenade or the pronunciation? No, not in a million years. There are speeches that I learned when I was a kid using this method because my father taught me this method when I was 8 or 9 years old that I can still remember many years later. I'm 75 years old now, as many, many decades ago, but I still remember. And you can use it for numbers. Now, for numbers, it's a little different. I suggest you check out my other video about how to do it with numbers. I've got another video about it. It's pretty cool to do with numbers, very interesting. But this is powerful, very powerful. And the hard work is the creative part. And the easy part is now that you've done the hard work, you're done. And all you have to do is walk back along the path beside the pond in the park. And what are those kids doing there? What's that little table? Ooh, lemonade. Oh, why is it green? Maybe I'll buy one. Okay, that's the idea. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can see future videos. If you want to check out the other memorization video or any of my other videos about lots of different things, also check out my courses in the links in the description. All right, guys, that's it. Okay, see if I missed any questions. Who's here? Sleepwalkers here. Lolly's here. Talk with a native speaker every day. Yeah, well, that works if you can talk with a native speaker every day. It's not always super easy to do that. I mean, to find someone to speak with, right? But that is certainly a good technique. So I would be curious to see if you guys can come up with examples of this, to see if you guys can come up with examples of how to combine a word or phrase with something in your memory to make it stick like this. I'd be very interested. Lolly, do you have an example? I'd be keen to see it. There's a big plus eating onion soup, and there's a big minus eating onion soup. Why are they ing and eat? Okay, let's think about that for a second. Minus eating onion soup. Why is the ing with eat? Oh, you're trying to remember the grammar there, right? You might want to remember the actions, right? You might want to, for example, so let's say you're trying to remember the difference between, or you're trying to remember that grammar, eating or eat, right? How would we do that? That one might be a little more difficult. But you could, for example, if you want to remember the ing, and you have two people eating onion soup or with onion soup, one person is, instead of eating the soup, they're singing at their soup. They're singing right at their soup, right? And you think that's weird. And you're trying to remember the ing part. And the other one, the person is eating whole spoonfuls of it very quickly, and maybe the soup keeps refilling. Anyway, it's got to be strange. It has to be something unusual. It depends on what you're trying to remember. And it also matters where you place it in your memory palace. That's also extremely important, where you put it. By the way, guys, please feel free to ask questions. Pop your questions in here if you have them, and we'll try to go through them as well. We have a couple other topics that I want to talk about, but I do want to also make sure I answer any grammar questions you might have, or pronunciation questions you might have, or questions about English learning methods. If you have trouble with anything, that is fine too. That's fine too. Okay, and yeah, I would like to see if you have any examples of the memory palace that you want to share. That would be awesome as well. All right, so while you guys are working on your questions or thinking of questions, I'm gonna move on. There is another thing I want to talk about. Actually, two other things I want to talk about. But one is, I think, something that people know, but they don't really realize it, or they don't know the history of it. So we're going to talk about where the days of the week come from. There's a lot of, it's an interesting story. So we're going to talk about that. You're not sure what to ask. Wow, first time watching. Well, if you're not sure what to ask, you have to think about what is difficult for you. First, you think about the category. What's difficult for me? Is grammar difficult for you? Well, then you should come up with a grammar question. Which thing? ED or ING? Is it past tense? Using the word have? I mean, there's so many different things. Maybe it's specifically pronunciation. Is pronunciation difficult for you? Do you have trouble saying certain sounds or hearing the difference between two things? Something like that. Or maybe you have a sentence. That's fine too. Maybe the difficulty for you is in how to learn. You don't know the right way to do it. You don't know the right method. Okay, well, we could talk about that. So those are categories. First, you come up with the general topic. Then you come up with a question. Often when you're faced with an infinite possibilities, nothing comes out of the constantly moving river of ideas. But if you first create categories, then it's easier to be more specific. That's the difficulty with questions. That's the difficulty with most creative things. There seems like there are so many possibilities. What can you do? But you have to narrow it down, create a category. Then you can usually find something more specific. Posh, port out, starboard, home. I don't understand the meaning. Acronym, posh, port out, starboard, home. I have never heard that before, Lolly Lolly. I'm unfamiliar. Maybe I can, if you like, I could do a quick, I guess I can do a quick Google search for you. But I mean, I honestly don't know. Posh, port out, starboard, home. Okay. Port out, starboard, home. What is the true original? One fell swoop. Does the word honey... What? I'm confused by the answer. Starboard, home, supposedly being the side of the ship on the return journey. This is a complicated question. Hello, Xiao Li. Hello. We're just trying to figure something out here. I'm Googling. I don't think this word is used in most of the USA. I didn't know it before. In American English, someone says this. I went to England, and none of the Americans I know did either, except for ones from Massachusetts. Huh. Apparently it has something to do with being on a ship, or I don't know. I'm going to have to study this one. It's not simple, Lolly Lolly, unfortunately. I've never heard of it. So it seems to be British English. And also seems to be something that doesn't have an obvious or simple meaning because I can't just find it within 2 seconds here. So I'll have to look it up. I'll have to do some research on that one. Sorry about that. But these are called acronyms. Now, it's important to realize that acronyms are what's called a jargon. So the best way to find out what an acronym means is to just Google it and do some research. I couldn't find that one in 2 seconds, but I'm sure I could if I did a little more research. But then you need to realize that any jargon is going to be specific to a job, a group, a country. So the word is jargon, and this one seems to be British jargon, but there's jargon related to careers. If you work in the financial field, you know, there's going to be a lot of jargon that I don't know, and people who work in finance do know. So, Karim, what is today's topic? Well, we have 3 topics besides answering questions, so feel free to submit your questions. We're talking about the days of the week. Don't worry, this is not the first grade lesson. I mean, where they come from. We finished talking about a memory technique, so if you didn't catch that, you'll have to catch it later. And I also will be posting clips from the live streams, so if you miss something, you can check out those clips. You have to subscribe to the other channel, though. There's another channel in the recommended channels. You can check that out. Yeah, guys, thanks for hitting the like button. I appreciate it. That really helps bring more people into the group. So, okay, all right. So we're gonna talk about the days of the week, And then then I'll answer your other questions, okay? Okay. All right. Oops, hold on. Hold on. I lost my slides here. I lost my slides. All right, I'm back. I got it back. All right, there they are. There are my slides. All right, so let's start with this. You all know the days of the week. Obviously, everyone knows the days of the week, but where do they come from? Why do we say Monday? Why do we say Tuesday? Why do we say Wednesday? Where do they come from? Well, you could say that originally they came from ancient Greek, right? Ancient Greek is where they came from. But we don't say anything like the ancient Greek. So actually, we say that they came from Rome, ancient Rome. And we say that most of them have a Latin origin. Now, Latin is a dead language. It's a language we don't use anymore. But it is the basis of a lot of modern languages. We say the Romance languages like French and Spanish and Portuguese. We say some of English because English is influenced by, for example, French, are related to Latin in many ways. Okay, these languages sort of have an inspiration from Latin. So the days of the week are no different, but it's not that simple. We don't just translate the days of the week from Latin into English and boom, haha, there we go. So we're going to talk about how this works. But the basic idea is that the days of the week, besides Sunday and Monday, are named after gods. We could also say named after planets, but the planets are named after the gods. So the planets are named after gods and days of the week are named after gods. Now, we have gods in ancient Rome, but we also have Germanic gods. That doesn't mean German gods. Germanic is an ancient group of people. We call them Germanic, and they became other modern civilizations or societies. Then we have, of course, the Norse gods. You probably know Thor, right? Everybody knows Thor. People know Odin, right? So it's not just Latin. It's not just the Roman gods, but there is a connection. So we're going to go through these, and we're going to talk about where they come from. It's important to realize, though, that not all of them are gods. For example, Sunday. That's the most obvious one, right? Sunday. It's the day of the sun. We don't have to connect a god to that one. It's just the day of the sun. And traditionally, that was the first day. So I don't know how this is pronounced actually, because I don't think anyone can say, I know how Latin is pronounced. But I think it's something like Deus Solis. Something like that. Deus Solis. Day of the sun. Sunday. So that one translates pretty well, directly from Latin to English. Deus Solis means, and if my pronunciation is wrong here, I don't care. There are no Latin speakers around here to shout at me. Who cares? Then we just translate it over. Now it's the day of the sun, or as we say, because we put day at the end, Sunday. Sunday. All right. That's the first day of the week. Now, we often say that Monday is the first day of the week, but hey, whatever. Now, it gets more interesting after Monday. Okay, so then we have Monday, and Monday's also kind of the same thing. Moon Day, or Deus Luna. Again, I don't know how to pronounce this, and I'm not sorry about it. Monday, Moon Day, kind of similar. Okay, now, it's not that interesting yet, but it gets a little more interesting, because then we get into this sort of mix of gods, and it's not always the same one, and one comes from Germanic mythology, and one comes from Norse mythology, and it comes from ancient Roman mythology. So it's all kind of interesting. So now it gets interesting once we get to Tuesday. Okay, so Sunday, Monday, not that interesting. Day of the sun, day of the moon. Boring. It's when we get into the planets. Okay, so notice that the things around us immediately, the sun and the moon, the things that go around us each day that are obvious, these are the ones that don't need a god so much. There are gods related to the sun and the moon, but not in our names. We can reference them directly. when we go to the planets, like Saturn, like Jupiter, now we need to reference the gods. Now we're talking about the gods because gods were associated with the planets. Now, we can't say all of the planets because we didn't, at that time in ancient Rome, we didn't know about all of the planets. But it's the ones that were known, the ones that could be observed in the night sky, even back then. Okay, so now we get to Tuesday. Now, Tuesday is the day of Mars. And the Latin here is Deus Martis, okay? Or maybe Dies Martis. Is it Dies or Deus? Okay, whatever. Deus Martis or Dies Martis, okay? Now, that you can see is close to Mars, right? Martis, Mars, Martis, Mars. Kind of similar, right? Then why do we say Tuesday? What? That doesn't have anything to do with it. Well, in ancient Germanic culture, in ancient Germanic myths, there was a god, which is Tu, which is the sort of similar or parallel god to that god, to the god Mars, which is the god of war. And so we can say that, yes, it's a different pronunciation, it's from a different culture, but they're the same kind of function. And so because English actually comes from Proto-Germanic, comes from Germanic. If you didn't see my video about where English comes from, the history of the English language, make sure to check that out. We get a lot of these old words from these old cultures, these ancient cultures. So we can say that the god Tu, or maybe it's a goddess Tu, I think it's a god Tu, is the same as the Roman god of Mars. Okay, and so we have that pronunciation, but the same basic meaning as what the Romans used to say in Latin. That's the idea. So Tuesday's pretty interesting. But then, when we get into Wednesday, it changes. Now we're no longer talking about the Germanic gods. We're talking about Norse gods. Now, we could say it's Woden, but we could also say it's Odin. They're kind of the same thing. They're related. Odin is the one you probably know. Odin is the one in, if you've seen the Avengers, or if you've seen Thor, any of the Thor films, he's the one with the eye patch over his eye. That's Odin. He is the father of the Norse gods. Norse is that civilization which is now what we call Scandinavia, where we say Vikings came from. Okay, they followed Norse gods. They had a Norse religion, sort of. Okay. Nordic religion. We get a lot of influence from that, from the Norse gods, because at a period of time, a long time ago, when we had what was about to become Old English, there was an invasion, a Norman invasion that came down that changed the language a lot. And we got a lot of language, a lot of words from the Norman invasion. One of them is related to this, Odin's Day or Woden's Day. And it's not clear which one it is exactly, but they're kind of the same person, or at least they're very, very closely related. So this one is the day of Mercury, and obviously the Latin looks like Mercury, but Odin is also related to or connected to Mercury, the planet. So again, same meaning, same basic meaning, except now we're saying sort of Odin's Day or Woden's Day. And Thursday is no different. I'm sure you probably know this one, right? Thursday is Thor's Day. So that's the easy one, right? Now, Thor is connected to Jupiter. In Latin, they said either Jovis or Hovus, however they said it, but it's the god of Jupiter. And we could say Jupiter. Thor is connected to Jupiter because, or Jovis, or whatever you want to say, because both are the god of thunder. You've probably heard that in the movie, people call Thor the god of thunder, and he has the hammer and the lightning comes down from the sky, the god of thunder. Yeah, well, the same god in Roman mythology was the god of thunder, so there's a parallel between the two, even though one of them is a Norse god. Okay, so still the same basic meaning, the same basic idea, the same reference. There's a connection between them, but we use Thor instead of the original Roman or Latin word. So notice we're saying some of these coming directly from Latin, some of them sort of going through other cultures first, and then we're receiving them in English, in this case, Norse mythology. Now we then also have another Norse one, which is Freya. Freya is connected to Venus. Venus is a goddess, so this is a female god, a goddess, and this is a direct sort of move over to the word Friday. Now, I was a little confused when I was looking this up because there's another goddess named Frigga and Freya, and what's the difference between them? And I'm not so clear on the difference between them, if they're the same or different or connected somehow. But regardless, it comes from Norse mythology, and so you get the idea, right? So these days of the week, we have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all coming from Norse mythology. Then Tuesday seems to be from the Germanic culture. Then we have Monday and Sunday, which are directly from Latin. And then we have finally Saturday. And Saturday is also directly from Latin. So for Saturday, where's my Friday here? Oops, don't need that. For Saturday, it's the day of Saturn, so it's Dies Saturni. Someone's going to come back in a time machine, or come forward, rather, in a time machine from ancient Rome and slap me across the face and say, "That's not how you say it. That's not how it's pronounced." I'm sorry. Latin is a strange language to me. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. And I think many people, even students of Latin, are not so sure about that. So this one is not a reference to a god. This one is just a reference to a planet. And, there's a god connected to Saturn, the planet, but this one doesn't have any other thing around it. We don't have to talk about, for example, the god of something, Woden or Odin or anything like that. It's just directly talking about that thing. Now, there are a lot of things related to Saturn in ancient Roman culture, but that's, I think, a different topic. So that's basically it. These are the days of the week. This is where they come from, and I think it's quite interesting to study them. Now, when people speaking English are talking about the days of the week, they are not thinking this. Right? When I speak English and I say, "Oh, let's go there on Monday," I don't think about what it means. Let's go there on the day of the moon, right? So this is all just sort of background. It's a general idea, just something to keep in mind, just something to know. We call this etymology. Etymology is basically where words come from, where we get words. And it's an interesting thing to study. If you're curious about it, you can always just Google a word, then plus etymology. That plus etymology. And find out, is it from Latin? Is it from Spanish? Is it from French? A lot of English words are from French. We get a lot of words from Old Norse. We get a lot of grammar structure from Germanic or Proto-Germanic. And it's interesting. English is a very, very sort of messy language in that way, borrowing a lot of things from other parts of the world, other languages. I think it's fascinating. If you don't think it's fascinating, at least now you know. All right. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Also, subscribe if you haven't so you can see my future videos. And don't forget to check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. So, guys, looks like people have some insight here. Judith says, I'm Spanish and your Latin pronunciation is not perfect, but not so bad either. I'll take it. 100%. We all think of the moon on Monday. Gabe's 3D videos, Gabe is my brother, and they're watching this live stream. They think about the moon on Monday. I never think about the moon on Monday. When it's Monday, I think, thank God the weekend is over. Thank God I can start working again. That's what I think about. I know my Latin is not perfect, but you know what? I wonder, is your Latin perfect? Because, yes, it's true that Spanish comes from Latin, but how do you know the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation, unless you're a Latin scholar? I mean, some people do study Latin, but I've even heard people who study Latin disagreeing about how to pronounce things. So I don't know. I don't know the correct pronunciation, but I also wonder who does know the correct pronunciation. What if the people who are pronouncing Latin now, who are supposed to be the scholars of Latin pronouncing it perfectly, are doing the equivalent of a strong, maybe Australian accent, or maybe a Valley Girl, oh my God, accent, and that's the only thing that remains of the pronunciation. And if the Romans came back or came forward in a time machine and met that person, they would laugh at them. I mean, maybe they would come here and say, wow, Luke, your pronunciation is perfect. Your pronunciation is beautiful. We think your Latin is the best. It's fantastic, and you sound so smart when you speak Latin. That's what we think. And I can say that, and no one can disagree with me. No, I guess they can. All right, I might have missed some questions here. I've had many conversations over the years. I saw this sentence. Oh, I've had many a conversation over the years. I saw this sentence. So in what cases can we use this structure? Many a. That's a good question. All right, we can talk about that. I want to see what else I may have missed, though. Jargon is the same as argot or slang? No, jargon is specialized words and phrases within a specific context related to a particular field, perhaps. As I said, I gave the example of finance before, but I also mentioned someone from a specific country. You might have a small group of people in a country. They have a particular jargon that they use with their community or among their community. That could be jargon too. It's sort of like there's a group, they use these words, other people outside of that group don't use those words, so that's jargon. It could be acronyms, like what's the one that Lolly Lolly said before? POSH, right? But it doesn't have to be. Often it's acronyms for financial institutions or very technical jobs. Maybe doctors have to learn very long words, often in Latin. Scientists, biologists have to learn very long words. Okay. Karim says, I met a tourist. Am I saying your name correctly? Is it Karim or is it Karim? No one's here to disagree with me. I'm just going to assume that whatever I say is perfect. I met a tourist today in my city. He was asking for directions. Unfortunately, my tongue got tied and I forgot the English language. And I told him, I don't know. I need to know what happened to me. This is a great question. The level of humility of just saying, you know what, I just completely forgot what I was going to say is impressive. I'm very impressed with that. I will answer that question for sure. Art says, Hello, Luke. Hello, Luke. I can't even say my own name correctly. How to understand a fearful pressure paralyzed me in my shadow. What does shadow mean here? A fearful pressure paralyzed me in my shadow. I don't know. Let me think about that one. It could be a number of different things. I might not pop that one up on the screen, though. I want to answer Kareem's question first, and then we'll try to get to your question there, Art. Maybe we can at least kind of talk about it, even if I don't have a clear answer. Okay. Kareem says, I think most names of everything come from something historical or mysterious. And that's generally true. Yeah. I heard yesterday an example of someone who just wanted to see what would happen if they created a word and started writing it all over the place. So someone somewhere, might have been in England somewhere, just started writing the word quiz everywhere. They invented the word quiz, Q-U-I-Z, and they just started writing it all over the city. I don't remember if this is in the United States or in England, but they just ran around the city writing quiz on walls everywhere. People in the city started talking about quiz, what does it mean? Finally, it just kind of happened that it started to mean how we use it today over time, but it was a process. And that was a successful example of someone kind of forcing a word into the public conversation. But there are also plenty of examples of times when people try to create a word and try to make it popular, but it doesn't work. There was, YOLO, for example, was a ridiculous word for a while, and people said it for 2 months, and then they stopped saying it, and it's not really a popular word, and will probably be completely forgotten in a couple of years. There are lots of examples like that too. You can't decide what becomes a word. You have to sort of let nature take its course, and it either gets picked up or it doesn't get picked up. G2 Kumar says, do you have your own podcast? Yes. The guy who was commenting earlier, Gabe's 3D videos, he has videos too, by the way. If you're interested in watching 3D videos, you can check out his channel. He's my brother, and I do a podcast usually about movies, talking about movies. The only thing I would say is it's not for English learners per se. So if you're interested in having something to listen to that challenges you, if you're sort of at a higher level of English and you want to hear real conversations back and forth for maybe hours at a time, then you can check out the podcast. Now, there are lots of podcasts out there, many podcasts about movies, many podcasts about anything. The most popular podcast is the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm pretty sure that's the most popular. Now, people listen to that either as an audio podcast or they watch it on YouTube. And it's cool because there's such a wide variety of different topics. Joe Rogan will talk with an MMA fighter. Joe Rogan will talk with a scientist. Joe Rogan will talk with a politician, many different kinds of people. And sometimes the language is going to be hard for you to understand, but I would encourage those of you who feel like you can understand most of what you hear on TV or most of what you hear in movies to use podcasts on a regular basis as a way to improve your English. It can be a very effective way, especially to improve your listening and improve your awareness of different topics and different subjects. And it can be something that you make part of your routine. If you're on the way to work, for example, and you want something to listen to challenge yourself, to increase your vocabulary, podcasts. There are lots of good podcast apps for listening. Overcast is my favorite. The cool thing about Overcast is that you can slow down the voice or speed it up, and it still sounds natural. It doesn't sound weird. So you can listen at your own speed, or you can reduce the spaces between words, the blank spaces, the silent spaces. That's what I usually do. And it's a nice interface. But there are lots of different apps for listening to podcasts. I do also like to, for those podcasts that are on YouTube, watch them on YouTube. I like to watch the Joe Rogan Experience. That's a good one. And I like to watch H3, the H3 podcast. Those are probably my two favorite. Now, if you want to hear mine, that's fine too. I think it's in the recommended bar on the side of the channel page, so you can check that out. You can subscribe. Again, it's not for English learners. It's about movies. It's about sometimes complicated topics. But if that's what you're interested in, then check it out. Why not? Podcasts are good. I love podcasts. Okay. Kareem Mostafa says, listening to podcasts is a great way to improve listening skill. I tend to agree with that. Now, I think Kareem's question is very interesting, so I'm going to pop this one up here on the screen because I like it. I met a tourist today in my city. He was asking for directions. Unfortunately, my tongue got tied and I forgot the English language. And I told him, sorry, I don't know. I need to know what happened to me. Now, this is a great question. First, I'd like to say it is much better to be able to say a weakness or admit when something happened to you that shows a weakness rather than say, nope, it's not a weakness. Nothing happened. Nothing went wrong. I'm fine. I'm great. Being humble with yourself, being honest with yourself is an important part of being able to take steps forward, right? You can't take a step forward until you admit to yourself that this thing that you did could have been better. It's very important to be self-aware and to self-reflect. So kudos to Kareem for sharing this example. That's great. Now, why does this happen? So one of the problems with language learning is that I think people don't really realize where to place it in the category of what kind of thing it is, language learning. Should we place it in the same category as learning knowledge, as learning things? Or should we place it in the category with activities, things that we do? And unfortunately, I think most people place it in the category of learning things only. If you learn enough, then that's all you need, and you will be good at English. Unfortunately, that is not true, because learning a lot only gives you the knowledge that you need to potentially be a good English speaker. It's like the resources that you have inside that could turn into, for example, being a very good English speaker, but not necessarily, because there is a very important other part. And that other part is the actual ability to do it, to make those words come out clearly, to put them together, not only when you're by yourself and looking at a piece of paper and you have a pencil in your hand or you're typing at a keyboard, but when you're sitting across from someone who you either know or don't know, and they've asked you a question and it's time to talk. In both of those situations, we should be talking much more about practice than we should about knowledge. A lot of people are very good at reading, and they know 20 or 30,000 English words, but as soon as you ask them a question, if they don't have a lot of experience communicating with native English speakers, it's like they don't know any of those words. Now, that's not a weakness of knowledge. The knowledge is there. It's a weakness of lacking experience in this particular exercise. In this case, this particular exercise is being able to express yourself when you're asked a question. That's a skill. That's not knowledge. That's the same as learning to play ping pong. That's the same as learning to ride a bicycle. That's the same as learning to be a high dive. What is a high diver? A high diver, right? And it's the same for anything like that, right? If this were my very first time doing a live stream, then I would probably be stumbling all over myself and have no idea what I'm talking about, even though all those words are in my head. It takes practice to, for example, talk to a camera, right? It takes practice to make videos. It takes practice to do a live stream. Those are all different things, and all of them require practice. So Kareem, right? If we take that to its logical conclusion and say, can you imagine if you were to be asked that question 100 times and you tried your best in each of those 100 times, can you imagine that after the 100th time you would be as bad at it as the first time? Do you think you would still completely lose your words the 100th time, the 95th time, the 80th time? No. Each time you'd get better and better. You'd get more and more comfortable with it. A lot of English speaking ability comes down to being able to grab the words that you need and building the mental brain structures to do that, and also the confidence to do it. Confidence is something that should not be dismissed. We shouldn't say, oh, confidence, whatever. It's all about knowing things. We should say, confidence is the thing that allows you to feel comfortable enough to find those words that you need to explain to someone. For example, oh, yeah, you want to go to the coffee shop on Cedar Street? Sure. If you walk straight for about 15 minutes, you'll come to a hospital. You turn right at the hospital. That's 28th Street. And then you walk about 5 minutes and turn left, and you'll see the... What are we looking for? I forget what I'm looking for. Across from the pet store. Okay, great, thanks. Oh, you're welcome. All right, have a good one. You'll be able to do that maybe after the 30th time or the 20th time. I don't know how many times it takes. But it's the confidence that allows you to relax. Confidence is really, really important. And confidence comes with practice and repetition. So you have to be as social as you can if you want to be a good speaker. You have to have English-speaking friends. You have to be involved in English-speaking communities. If you're at a workplace where there's some English being spoken, don't be the one sitting in the corner like this, saying, I'll let others speak. Be the one to make yourself look silly, because the one who makes themselves look silly will, after a few times of doing that, not look silly anymore because they'll feel so confident, right? Confidence is the thing that allows you to feel comfortable enough to grab the words and phrases that you need. If people are in high-pressure situations and they feel it, there's this feeling of tension that limits ability. They say that when people are under financial stress, they feel like they don't have enough money in their lives, the IQ actually goes down 10 points. People who don't have enough money to live, basically, their actual IQ goes down 10 points. Not because they're actually stupid, but because they're under so much pressure that they're not able to relax and think creatively and solve a problem. Same kind of thing. Someone looks at you and says, hey, excuse me, how do I get to the library? I've never done this before. No confidence. Your ability goes down 100 points, right? Or however much it is. So next time, try again. Say something, no matter how silly you look. And then the next time, try again, and you look slightly less silly the next time. You'll feel more comfortable, and again, and again, and again. So unfortunately, there's no easy solution. It's all about having no fear. It's all about trying your best. It's all about repetition, practice, and gaining confidence. So hopefully that answers your question, Kareem. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit the like button, please, and thank you. Also, subscribe so that you can see future videos that I make on the channel and also these live streams. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my courses in the links in the description, and I will, wait a minute, that's what I usually say. See, here's my thing. I almost said just now, I will see you next time. And then I realized, wait a second, I'm not ending the stream right now. But the problem is I'm much more used to making videos than doing a live stream, right? So what I say at the end of a video is normally, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you next time. And then I do that, and then the video ends. Now, I've been doing that for 4 years, and it's programmed into my brain. We've only started doing these live streams recently. So the programming is still there. It's in my brain, and it doesn't let go very easily. So I'm rewriting. It's the same as this topic we're talking about. I'm trying to rewrite my habits here. I'm trying to build confidence in doing live streams, not just videos, and it takes some practice, right? I'm not perfect at everything. So my stupid brain told me, oh, you've said the first thing and the second thing, so that means you must want to say also, see you next time. And then I had to stop myself because this is a live stream, not a video. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Yeah. So knowing things is overrated, I think. It's all about habits, 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 habits. And now that I've made myself look stupid on a live stream by doing that, do you think I'm going to make that mistake again? I think it's much less likely that I will make that mistake again. Much less likely. All right. Reflected in my window, well, she walked up to my quarter light and she bent down real slow. A tearful pressure paralyzed me in my shadow. She said, son, what are you doing here? Literature, boring. I might look at that later. I feel like you're speaking exactly for me with Kareem's tourist question. Yeah, it's a common issue. It's not only Kareem, it's me too. It's all of us, right? We're all in this journey together. So basically, we have to learn how to enjoy being silly. Yes. Yeah, mock different accents. I love doing different accents. It's one of my favorite things to do because it makes me more aware of different language sounds, but I think it's also very important to not be so afraid of looking stupid that we don't take action, right? Everyone's going to look stupid sometimes. Everybody, including me, including you, everyone. And if we're paralyzed by our fear of looking stupid, then that is not good. It's like I'm afraid of being myself, but when I speak a different accent, it's okay. That's interesting, yeah. Kareem says, thanks for the answer. The conclusion is repeating plus practice equals confidence at speaking. Yes, but you have to give yourself the environment. So if you have no environment of speakers around you, I would say that could be an issue. That could be a problem for sure. Okay. Now, guys, I do want to talk about something here. I want to talk about syllables. Now, it sounds boring, but I think it's interesting if you really think about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about syllables because I want to do that. That's what I want to do. All right? Okay. We'll get rid of Kareem's comment here. So, English syllables, most of us know what a syllable is, but we should just talk about that first before we talk about why we should learn them, before we talk about how we can learn them. And we should learn syllables. We need to know about syllables in order to pronounce things correctly, right? And we'll talk more about why we need to learn this after we do some examples. But first, let's just set the stage here. And let's say very clearly, without a doubt, what a syllable is, okay? Very simply, a syllable is a beat in a word. A syllable has to have a vowel sound, but yeah, we don't need to really focus on that. It's a beat in a word. When you say a word, you're going to hear beats in the word, okay? We're not counting letters. One of the mistakes that people often make, one of the common mistakes, is that when people want to figure out how many syllables does this word have, they're counting the letters in the word. Wrong, incorrect, bad, useless, terrible. And I will prove it to you very, very soon. Okay, so that's it. That's what a syllable is. It's a beat in a word. My name is Luke. How many syllables does my name have? Luke. How many beats do you hear? 1. So, my name, Luke, has 1 syllable. How about the word potato? Potato. Now, what should we be listening for? Should we listen to the T sound? How do we hear the beats? Well, that is where it gets, I think, easy if we follow one specific method. Okay? And there is one extremely useful method for knowing how many syllables a word has. There is one very easy method. All you have to do to count the syllables in a word is say the word with your mouth closed. Completely close your mouth and say the word. So, Luke, I'm saying my name with my mouth closed. Okay. Now, how about Kareem? How many syllables? That's 2. How about potato? Okay, 3 syllables. So, closing our mouth allows us to cut out all of that stuff that confuses the beats, that makes us question ourselves, that makes us say, is that really a syllable? Get rid of all that. Say it with your mouth closed, and then it's a lot easier, okay? Simple technique, very simple method. Now, I want to warn you, don't do anything else. Don't start counting words. Don't start counting letters. Don't start saying, oh, well, this word has many letters, therefore it must have many syllables. Or this word has very few letters, therefore it must have very few syllables. No, we shouldn't do that. So let's look at a few words as an example. All right, now, Olivia, this has how many letters? O-L-I-V-I-A. All right, so it has 3, 6, what am I saying 3? It has 6 letters. How many syllables does it have? 4. So So there are 4 syllables in this 6-letter word. Olivia. All right, so that's kind of a lot of syllables for such a short word. How about aviary? Aviary. Same thing. Aviary, we also have a 6-letter word with 4 syllables. Okay. Now, how about Oceania? How many letters does it have? O-C-E-A-N-I-A. Okay, so that's a 7-syllable word, right? Now, let's count how many syllables it has. 5 syllables. 5 syllables. So it's a pretty short word, not that long, and it has many syllables. Again, we're not counting the number of letters, we're counting syllables. Let's look at the next one. Scrounged. Wow, look at that one. How many syllables does scrounged have? It's many letters, right? It's very long. It's longer than any of the others. Let's say it. Scrounged. Scrounged. Holy crap. Are you telling me that that long word is a 1-syllable word? Yes. Scrounged is a 1-syllable word. Scrounged. Scrounged. It's not scrounged. If it were scrounged, that would be 2 syllables. It's not. It's scrounged. So, many letters, only 1 syllable. Very interesting. I think that's very interesting, right? Let's look at some others here. We have strengths, another long word, and it only has 1 syllable. Strengths, strengths, strengths. Okay? How about this one? Christmas, Christmas. 2, Christmas. It's a long word, not very many syllables, only 2 syllables. Pretty interesting. How about breakthroughs? Now that's a really long word. How many letters does that have? B-R-E-A-K-T-H-R-O-U-G-H-S. That has 13 letters. That's a pretty long word. Now let's see how many syllables. Breakthroughs. Breakthroughs. Oh my God. Are you telling me that that only has 2 syllables? Yes, that's right. So I hope you guys can now disconnect the number of syllables from how long the word is. Do not allow the length of the word to trick you into thinking that it somehow has many syllables if it's long and few syllables if it's short. No, nonsense. Close your mouth and say it. Easy technique. Now, why are we talking about this? What's the point? Well, if we know syllables and we know about syllables and we can figure out how many syllables a word has, we can improve our actual pronunciation of specific words. For example, with word stress, we need to know where the syllable lines are. For example, in geographic, if we want to say it correctly, because we have to stress, if a word ends with IC, we stress the second from the end syllable. Any word with IC, we will stress the second syllable from the end. But we have to know what the second syllable from the end is if we're going to stress it. Because we might make the mistake and think that O is a syllable with gra, but that's not true. They're separate. In fact, the first 2 sounds are in geo. That's a 4-syllable word. So we stress syllable number 3, which is the second from the end. We need to know which syllables are which. Now, we also simply need to know syllables in order to say words correctly, to say words accurately. There are a lot of words that sound a little weird, like Hawaii. Hawaii. That's not only about stress, but we need to know the IE is a 2-syllable piece of the word. And we have to be able to distinguish those two and say them correctly. We have to separate that last E sound in the syllables. Now, we also need to know this for fluency. One of the most common mistakes is for words like meandering, this is broken. A lot of people will say meandering, meandering. We need to know that there's a syllable break there, But we should also recognize that it's important to make those flow, that one should go naturally to the next. So we shouldn't say meandering, we should say meandering. Put a little Y there. Meandering. So the syllables don't mean breaks in your voice. They just mean two different beats. But the beats can be connected. We connect the beats. We can connect the beats. We don't always. But we still separate them. They're still separate beats. Meandering. Still two separate beats. That's the basic idea. That's how we can use and learn syllables. Make sure to close your mouth when you say it and start looking for words that have more syllables than they look like they have. Pay attention to this. It's going to improve your listening and it's going to improve your pronunciation. It's going to improve your fluency. So pay attention to this stuff. Okay. Let's see. Have I missed any questions? Lolly lolly. Well, lolly lolly is easy. Lolly lolly. Sleepwalker. What question did I miss? Send your question again, please. I think I have time to answer one more question. I gotta go to a movie pretty soon, guys. I'm leaving in a couple minutes, so I'm going to a movie. I'm leaving in a couple of minutes. I have time to answer one more question. I can answer one more question, guys. What's your question, Sleepwalker? Which question did I miss? Can you send it again? I've had many a conversation. Okay. All right, so Sleepwalker asks, Sleepwalker says, I've had many a conversation over the years. We should say this is, actually, you know what? I'm going to edit this before I talk about this. Sorry, Sleepwalker. I need to edit this really quickly. Many a conversation over the years. I saw this sentence, period. So, comma. In what cases can we use this structure? Many Ha! That's better. All right. So, Sleepwalker says, I've had many a conversation over the years. I saw this in a sentence, so in what cases can we use this structure? Many a conversation. Many a good conversation. Many a poor night's sleep. This is simply a way to say, I've had many conversations over the years. I've had many poor nights' sleep over the years. The reason that it's written like this is there is a more formal variation of a noun and how we talk about that noun, usually in literature, that you will see in some old books traditionally, and not so often in newer books, but you will still see it here and there sometimes. Very, very rarely will you hear this in conversation. So there's often a difference in where things are used, not a difference in what things mean. So if someone says, I've had many a conversation about this. I've had many conversations about that, or about this. I've had many a bad night's sleep over this crazy thing that's happening in my life. I've had many bad night's sleep out of or because of this conversation that's happening in my life. Okay, same thing, right? Basically, same meaning. But the difference is, where is it used? Okay. One thing to pay attention to when you're reading and you're watching movies is, what is being said in the context? Do you hear this kind of thing in a TV show like Friends or Stranger Things? No. No, it's very formal. Would you hear it possibly in something like Downton Abbey, that TV show, where people are in castles and very fancy houses and having very formal dialogue with each other at fancy dinner parties? Yeah. I've had many a conversation about this. Okay, now, grammatically, we don't even need to talk about it. I'm telling you, it's the same thing, okay? even though it's many a that. It's just it's a formulation. It's a grammatic piece that is common, and it's common for whatever reason. That's just what people say. So let's not worry too much about the grammar of it. We don't even need to really talk about the grammar of it. What we need to know is, where is it used? Formal situations, literature, older literature, not so much newer literature, and then in speech, maybe shows like Downton Abbey, or very, very formal, posh British situations with the Queen of England, and not so much in modern American English, not so much in English that you would see even in modern day, the UK, right? You wouldn't see that in British English so much these days. That's the basic idea. It's very important to pay attention not only to the meaning of something, but also when it's used, where it's used, who's using it. That's very important to pay attention to, because a lot of the times these things, they are the same in meaning, and this is an example of that. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. No difference in meaning. Why do people sometimes write damn instead of damn? Oh, they're just writing how it sounds, right? It's kind of a ridiculous new thing. It sounds like instead of damn. It sounds like that. So people are just writing how it sounds. Saeed says how to learn new things. That's a big question, Saeed. But you can, I think, check out the afterward, the live stream. You can watch it again, or I'll post a clip of that section talking about the memory technique. You can check out that as well. I'm very happy for you, but I have any problem in English. This is to understand the American Literature License 1. American Literature License 1? Not sure I understand what you mean by that. What movie are you going to watch? Yeah, guys, I'm going to go watch Jojo Rabbit, which was, I believe, won Best Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay, or Adapted Screenplay, one or the other. I'm going to go watch that. I think it might have been Best Adapted Screenplay by the same guy who directed Thor Ragnarok. And so it's playing at the local theater, so I've got to go. Yeah, we're going to go watch that. I'm excited. So, guys, thanks for all your questions. Make sure you submit your questions in the Facebook group. That's the best place to send them, or in YouTube comments. I will check them out throughout the week. I've got to hit the road. You can hear my phone buzzing. People need me. I've got to go. But thanks again, guys. I will see you next week, certainly, for another one of these next Sunday, hopefully a little earlier. We'll talk about your questions if I missed any. And also, don't forget to hit the like button. Very important. Like button. Guys, also subscribe. And if you enjoyed this, why not share it on Facebook or something like that? Share it with other English learners you know. And, also check out my courses in the links in the description. And now I can say it. I will see you guys in the next one. All right. Bye-bye.